May 8, 1945. The world was supposed to exhale. But in the cold hangars scattered across a broken Europe, the silence that followed Germany's surrender felt heavier than the war itself. On that day, as the last official orders of the Third Reich dissolved into static, tens of thousands of Luftwaffe aircraft, once symbols of terror, ambition, and technological obsession, were suddenly without a nation, without pilots, and without a future. And yet, what happened to those planes in the hours, days, and years after the war did not simply vanish into dusty archives. Their fate became intertwined with intelligence battles, forbidden experiments, secret bargains, and a new global struggle that grew from the ashes of the old. The world imagined these aircraft being scrapped or burned, fading into forgotten wreckage. But behind closed doors and deep inside intelligence vaults, their story continued in ways that would quietly influence decades of Cold War strategy, aerospace engineering, and psychological warfare. When Allied forces entered German airfields during the final weeks of the war, they were met not with neat rows of operational fighters, but with a chaotic mosaic of destruction and deliberate sabotage. Senior Luftwaffe officers had been instructed to destroy certain aircraft before capture, especially prototypes. Burned-out Me-262 jet fighters lay twisted like blackened metal skeletons on runways. Engineers had smashed instrument panels with hammers, poured sand into turbines, and torched blueprints that contained equations no one had yet fully understood. But even in this staged ruin, Allied technical teams sensed something strange. Some prototypes had not been destroyed, but abandoned intact, as if someone wanted them to be found. In many cases, that someone was not German. It was the beginning of Operation Lusty, a top-secret American program focused on capturing every advanced Luftwaffe aircraft and document they could find, especially the jets, rockets, and experimental designs that had frightened Allied intelligence for years. American technical intelligence teams, often wearing civilian clothes to blend into post-war chaos, moved fast. They swept through Bavaria, Württemberg, and Saxony before the Soviets arrived, gathering crates of documents, engines, wings, and even incomplete aircraft. Many Luftwaffe engineers, fearing Soviet captivity more than American interrogation, cooperated willingly. They revealed hidden underground facilities like those at Nordhausen and Kalle, where slave laborers had built aircraft the world had never seen. Some of these craft were so advanced they seemed like science fiction, delta-wing interceptors, vertical takeoff prototypes, ramjet-powered missile planes. These machines were fragile, experimental, and often only partially completed, but they represented something the United States could not ignore: evidence that Germany had been reaching for an entirely new era of aviation. While the Americans focused on jets, the British sought the aerodynamic secrets hidden in more conventional designs. They had long feared the Focke-Wulf Ta-152, the extended-wing, high-altitude interceptor capable of climbing faster and higher than anything the Allies possessed. British test pilots flew captured models cautiously, aware that a single mechanical failure could cost them their lives. These planes, now repainted in Allied markings, took to the skies above Farnborough and Boscombe Down, carrying with them the final ghosts of the Luftwaffe. The British wanted to know how the Germans had achieved such balance between speed and maneuverability, how their engineers had optimized wing loading, fuel distribution, and pressurization systems while under relentless bombing. Some of these answers would find their way into British aircraft designs for years, but while the Americans and British worked methodically, the Soviets moved with a different kind of determination: swift, forceful, and driven by a deep suspicion of their former allies. In the eastern zones of Germany, Red Star-marked trucks rolled into airfields, loading entire aircraft onto flatbeds. Some were operational, some damaged, and some barely completed. To the Soviets, it didn't matter. Everything had potential value. Entire teams of German engineers were taken east not voluntarily and placed into closed design bureaus behind the new Iron Curtain. There, they were forced to reconstruct blueprints, redesign prototypes, and explain every detail of the jet engines Germany had developed. The Soviets would later deny how many German concepts influenced their early jet fighters, but intelligence files from that era tell a different story. They reveal that the MiG-9, MiG-15, and even early Soviet ballistic missiles carried genetic traces of German engineering,